Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of Alamo Vaudeville on Air. I am your host, Ashton Holloway, and today we have some very special guests. Ladies and gentlemen, let's give it up for the producer and director of the film Say a Little Prayer. Let's give it up for Patrick Perez and Cristina Nava. How are you guys doing today?
We're doing great.
Great. Thanks for having us.
Yeah, thank you so much. I really appreciate your time, and thank you both for being here. I know you guys have been really busy doing media for this production, and I've done a lot of research on both of you, so I just kind of want to start from the beginning a little bit, right? So how did both of you end up joining in the filmmaking business?
Well, I started in filmmaking like a long time ago. In my early 20s, I decided I was going to be a filmmaker and started making short films. Figured, that's the best way to do it is by practicing and by learning. I volunteered at Public Access, learned camera work, learned editing, and I started doing short films. Years later, after I made a bunch of short films, went to a bunch of festivals, I figured I needed to go to film school to kind of bring my game up to the next level. So I applied to UCLA Film School, got in, and I was attending UCLA Film School, the master's program, when I met Cristina. Mm-hmm. And we were dating at the time. And, I found a script that she had lying around the apartment. I don't know if she put it sort of where I could find it.
Yes, I did.
But I read it. I was like, hey, this is pretty good. I was like, do you mind if I make this as my thesis project? And she's like, no. Mm-hmm. And so I proposed it as my thesis. And then she came on to produce it. So that was her first producing gig, was producing my UCLA thesis film, which is her script from her original script called Stockholm. And, at that point, there was trials, every film has its ups and downs, and we got through it all. And it was like, you know what, we're still alive at the end of it. Seems like it's going to work. So I asked her to marry me.
For sure. Go ahead, Cristina.
Well, I came into it more as from an actor. I was first, I went into theater and as an actress, and I was also writing for stage. And then I realized that I would reach more people if I moved into television and film. And so then I transitioned and really consciously abandoned theater and focused on the acting as an actress. But that was really short-lived because I wasn't getting the roles and getting auditions for the roles that I wanted to see myself doing. And so then again, I started writing short films and just doing it with friends, and I had a community. And then I realized that the power was really for me in writing and writing the kind of films that I wanted to see on the screen. And that's around the same time when I met Patrick. And again, I had written Stockholm, which I think we changed to Syndrome later. But yeah, and so from there, again, like Patrick mentioned, it was my first producing gig, and I kind of was learning about producing through him, through like his classes, and from there, that's where we really began to take off in film and television.
That's amazing. Wow. And I know you guys are from Los Angeles, right? Is that
Los
correct?
Angeles, both of us.
Wow, that's awesome. And I know Say a Little Prayer was filmed in San Antonio. What made you guys decide to want to shoot over here for that film?
Wait 1 minute.
Go ahead.
Okay. Well, the writer Nancy de los Santos, she originally wrote the story to be set in Chicago. Okay. And she had friends in San Antonio because she worked on the movie Selena as an associate producer. Was it like 20 years ago now?
Yeah.
So she had friends in San Antonio, and when she told them the story, the story is about three friends who say a prayer to find love. And the prayer is to Saint Anthony, or in Spanish, San Antonio de Padua. And they're like, wait, the saint is San Antonio? And so they're like, shouldn't you make it take place in San Antonio? And so she loved the idea. And so that began the transition into making it take place in San Antonio. And so because it was set in San Antonio, that's why we chose San Antonio. But there was sort of like this conversation of whether we just shoot exterior shots in San Antonio and then take it somewhere else to be shot that had tax rebates or credits.
Mhm.
In the end, we decided that we would stay there for the authenticity of it.
For sure, 100%. And Patrick, I know you've directed a lot of different films throughout your career. What would you say was the difference between shooting in California to San Antonio through your experience?
Well, I mean, San Antonio has a wonderful, wonderful vibe. You know what they say? It's like a city that's a small town. You know, feel everybody's so friendly. The city really opened their doors to us, including Mayor Ron Nirenberg.
Mhm.
His son can be seen in the movie. His son played a small role, the mayor's son.
Uh-huh.
A lot of folks from San Antonio ended up being cast as extras or bit parts or small roles. And so
Mhm.
we were able to employ a lot of cast and crew from San Antonio. And it just had a wonderful family feel, like the vibe.
Mhm.
You know, we shot at a ice house called Jaime's
Uh-huh.
on the west side, and Jaime opened up the place to us. It was just, you know, the Selena's dad, Abraham Quintanilla, showed up to the set. Uh,
Wow.
the congressman, the mayor was there. Like everyone just came out to support, and it was a really wonderful, friendly family vibe. And even Luis Fonsi, our star, who's traveled all over the world, he loved it. He thought like it was just such a great, welcoming, loving city. You know, and usually like in big cities, there's kind of like a hard edge, and that we didn't find that anywhere. People were just wonderful.
For sure. Yeah, no, I've heard that about California for sure as well. I know it can be a little more cutthroat out there, and everyone's out there kind of wanting to chase the same kind of dream. And I know there was a lot of production that was put into this film, and getting Luis Fonsi on the film itself is just an insane situation within itself. How did you guys end up getting him on the film?
So Nancy de los Santos again had these connections to. She had friends. Now they're really dear friends, and Robert Trevino, who is our co-producer, we were looking for the one star that had a name, and
Mhm.
and Robert knew Luis Fonsi, and so names were being thrown out, and he said, "Well, what about Luis Fonsi?" And we were like, "Yeah, he would be a great Rafael Reza,
Uh-huh.
in the film." And Robert had already talked to Luis, and Robert and Luis Fonsi. Robert worked for, I think, Gibson Guitars back in the
Mhm.
day,
Oh
and
wow.
he sold Luis Fonsi his first Gibson, and so they knew each other from years before, and he knew that this would be a role that Luis would like as his first feature, his debut as an actor
Mhm.
in the movie. So that's where the conversation began with Robert Trevino and Luis.
Yeah. And then when Luis said yes, we were just dancing. Like we threw on Despacito and we're dancing all over
Yeah.
the apartment, you know. Well, you know, it's really it was hard to believe, but it did help the fact that we got Edward James Olmos to come on as executive producer.
Mhm.
That we had my track record, Christina's track record, Nancy's. We had a lot of prior work and legitimacy, and so Luis was happy to come aboard. Um, and so we were excited to have him.
Yeah, no, it's awesome to see. And, just getting him on the film, that is such a huge accomplishment, I'd say. I didn't realize that was the first film he's ever done. What was it
Yes.
like working with him on the set? I mean, with that being his first film, was there any kind of challenges that he had to overcome? What was that experience like overall?
He is such a professional. Like he's obviously a world, renowned performer on stage. So he has the performance chops. Like he knows how to be a performer, and he's acted in television. So he has done television shows. Before he came on set, he called me and said, "Can I recommend him an acting coach?" Which I did. So he came to set totally prepared,
Hmm.
like any pro, like the most professional level of preparedness. He was set for every scene. He knew what to do. Um, I think a little bit, in film, you have to repeat things and do them over and over. And, there's a certain kind of emotion that you're sometimes as a director, I'm looking to get out of him.
Uh-huh.
Um, I think, being a performer and being up on stage and, you kind of have an armor. And in film, you have to let that armor down and let your vulnerability show through.
100%.
So that was the only thing. I think it was my work as a director to try to get him more to let his guard down, let his armor down, and let that vulnerability shine. But he totally did it, and just a wonderful, wonderful collaborator. Very generous too. Like as far as sometimes a star will only do their lines, then they'll leave and have a stand-in do the lines with the other actors. He would stick around for all of everybody's lines and help them out as well.
Wow. It's always great to have somebody on set like that that's willing to, first off, like you just said, be vulnerable and, be open to ideas and being able to give back to the cast as well. But I mean, kind of going back to the film itself, is there any kind of scenes within the movie that stand out to you specifically? Is there any certain parts maybe that you guys filmed that you maybe had the most fun working with while you were on the set?
Go ahead.
I think the scene that stands out for me is a scene where he actually sings. With Luis Fonsi sings. Luis Fonsi wrote a song specifically for the movie called "Prayer in Your Eyes." And can you talk a little? Who did he write it with?
Josh Keir, who wrote "I Need You Now" for Lady Antebellum. He's a Nashville singer-songwriter. So when I was talking to him about creating a song for this, he went off, and I didn't know this. He just went off and called his buddy Josh Keir and said, "Look, I'm making a movie in Texas. I want to have a little bit of a country feel to it. Can you help me write it?" I had given him kind of the outline of the character of this person he's playing, Rafael Reza, and I'd given him the backstory. And based off of that backstory, he came back with this gorgeous song.
Yeah, and the day that we shot that was, we had heard it before, and I knew it was beautiful, but with the day that we shot that was really the first time, and he sang live, and oh my goodness, it was magic. Like everyone was blown away. Patrick had to readjust the actors and be like, hey.
Well, everybody was like clapping as if he was a superstar, and I'm like, it's a movie and nobody knows who this guy is. Don't even clap. Don't even look at him. So we had to play it so that he starts singing. And everyone's just kind of still chatting with each other. And then they all get drawn into his music and they turn and they begin going, "Oh, this guy's pretty good." And anyway, it was tough because the crowd needed to act as well because they were so thrilled to be hearing this beautiful song that they were just like, but it was like, no, you don't know this guy. Don't applaud.
Oh my God. I would have had the same reaction too. And I mean, just seeing how much you've progressed throughout your career, it's amazing to see how far you've come. And I can only imagine how much work had went into the production. And as I was doing my research, I know you also worked on Divorce Bait as well. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
Was that a film that both of you worked on together?
Yes.
Yeah, I wrote it, produced, and he directed and produced as well. And that one was challenging because that we shot in 2020, November of 2020, and that was COVID.
As the world shut down, and we were, here in LA, they made film workers were titled essential workers. Well, we were allowed to be out, together with food delivery people and doctors. Like somehow film was essential workers. We're like, okay, so we were out and the streets were empty. Like everywhere we shot was just like available. Like there was parking everywhere. But it was a lot of fun. We ended up making a beautiful, again, like. One thing that people comment on our film sets is what a great vibe it is. It's a very like loving family, like together vibe. A lot of sets, a lot of directors, are I don't know, they love yelling at people.
Yeah.
I don't like doing that. I think that my most important job as a director is to create a bubble where magic can happen. I have to create a mood and a vibe and a spirit and protect the actors in such a way that they could be vulnerable and they could be honest and they can improvise. And if there's a bunch of stress and drama going on set, they can't get there. They need to be stress-free and have fun and loose. So especially in comedy, I love improvisation. So I will always, let them do the way the line was written. But if they have anything they want to add, I'll let them do one where it's a little bit more improvised.
Absolutely. And even when I was looking at some clips of the film itself, you can tell how comfortable the talent were. And honestly, the film itself is great. It's so funny, and I think you guys did a great job putting that whole production together. Now, I know you did also win the award for best director. Was it the Mexican American Film Festival, right? So, as far as that award, right? What did that mean to you to have put in so much work and time into that film? Producing and writing and making sure everything was where it needs to be. What did it mean to you to win that award for that featured film?
Honestly, Ashton, it was like I didn't even know I wanted it that bad. Like when I won, it just like, I was in tears, just so emotional because it's like people really don't know how much work. Really, when you say yes to a project, you're dedicating the next 2 or 3 years of your life
Minimum.
to it. From the time that you're working on the script to the time that you deliver the thing, and then you go into exhibition and promotion and publicity.
Yeah.
It just goes on and on and on. And it's like when you're on our kind of independent film budgets, you don't have a big crew. You're really wearing like 10 hats. Everybody's wearing like so many hats. And it's so exhausting that to have a little bit of recognition means a lot. It means a lot.
We're not selling you a taco at Rex. We're selling you a dream. Your quinceañera you're going to do, your wedding, your formal event. We understand your thought process. And when you walk into a big box store, you may see somebody who you will never see again 2 months later. We have consistency with our employees here at Rex, and we strive to give you excellent customer service and the new styles, the slim fits, the unique item that you're looking for.
For sure. And yeah, I mean, it's just like what you said with the marketing and everything else. I feel like that's probably the hardest part, especially when you're independent and you're only given so much to work with. And I can only imagine during COVID as well, like there's really not much you can do to, translate what you're trying to get across on screen, right? But like, let's say maybe even like someone aspiring to break into the business is listening to this right now. I'll go separately. So for both of you, what advice could you give to anyone right now that may be listening, that may be trying to break into the business?
I mean, my advice is always simple. It's learn by doing and don't quit. Um, Learn by doing, meaning pick up a camera, get your friends together and start shooting, because the only way to learn, you can study it in theory and you can watch, but when you practice it and you try out a shot, you try out edits and see if they work, that's where you really learn.
Mhm.
And then the other thing is that like so many people want to get into this industry, especially as young people. And, if I look around nowadays, the people that I started with, there's a handful who are still with it. There was probably hundreds when I first started that I used to go to meetings and groups and filmmaker groups. There's only maybe like 5 or 6 that are still doing it.
Uh-huh.
And I'm one of them because I just refuse to quit. It's you stick to it and you get better every time. You really do. You get better and better and better. That's my advice.
I'd add to that you should find your community, because filmmaking, it really is like a child. It takes a village to raise this child. And so connect with people who are as passionate as you, who have the drive and who are reliable and honest, and really try hold on to those people and work together. So find your community.
For sure. That both great answers, and it really resonates with me. I work a lot in professional wrestling and music, so kind of correlates with the industry that you guys are in as well. And a lot of the storytelling aspect is the reason why I love being in the business so much. And I've worked in film a little bit, and I've kind of dipped my toes into it. But like you were saying, it's a hard industry to kind of keep up in, especially when everyone's trying to do it right. But what would you say is the most important factor as far as trying to put a film together and making sure that it comes together properly?
Well, everything begins with a story, and everybody has a story to tell. And so, from a writer's perspective, just figure out good structure. As a writer, figure out the structure, the Hollywood structure. Save the Cat is really good.
It's a book.
It's a book.
Uh-huh.
Save the Cat has really, I feel like that was my Bible for structure.
Mhm.
And then share that with people you would give you good notes, and listen to those notes. Don't just ignore it. And again, that goes back to community, building on your community and people you can rely on.
Yeah, that's a good answer. I mean, everybody says this, and it's true. It's like without a great script, you can't have a great movie. Like you have to have it in the script, and you'll save more money and more time by fixing it in the script than trying to fix it in the editing room. There's been many times where we end up in the editing room and we shot an entire scene that it turns out we didn't need to shoot. How many days did that take? How much money did that take? How many people was it? How many headaches do you go through? And you didn't even need it, right? It ends up on the cutting floor. So if you could make those cuts ahead of time, you're way ahead of the game. But ultimately, it's like, you have to get a team together that you could rely on. And, you have to be efficient with your use of time and money. And then, that's to get it shot. And then editing is super important also. I mean, you have to just, hire a good editor or become a good editor. That's what I did. I ended up editing most of my own films when I was younger, and I became a union editor, a Motion Picture Editors Guild editor, and take TV, like thousands of hours of TV. And so I also work and edit my own films, and I work with other editors so I could have an outside voice, an outside eye, looking at my work and criticizing it.
My God, that really does sound like a lot of different hats to wear. And I mean, even I seen that you've had a lot of experience. I know you edited, what was it, Little Big Shots, the Steve Harvey production they had. And I saw something about like a dialect coach for Will Ferrell. So it's like you've worked with all these larger than life stars, right? And it's not every day that you get to work on a set or get to even have a conversation and sit down with people of that stature, right? So what have you learned from working in the industry? What kind of advice have you been given from those people that are maybe somewhere a bit higher than, the people like us that are still working independently?
What I learned, I two things, interesting things. The first one is the higher up you go, as far as the higher up you go, the nicer the people are. Like Will Ferrell was one of the sweetest, most down to earth people I've ever had the luxury of collaborating with. And his whole group was just such a respectful, it was a former head writer of SNL, Harper Steele, Will Ferrell, and Matt Piedmont, who was the director of the film, and me, who was the translator and dialect coach. I translated the film from English into Spanish. And we would just sit there in a circle discussing the scenes. Everybody's idea was welcome and accepted. It's in the middle where you get people who want to bring you down a peg, very competitive with you, trying to, work against you or argumentative. I think once you get to a certain level, you block out all that noise, not interested in competing and fighting and in arguing. That's not productive. But at the lower levels, people are scrapping with each other, trying to push you down, but at the higher levels, that doesn't exist as much. So that's one thing I learned. The other thing is that, especially working in television, is a lot of times you think that you get to somewhere and oh, well, they're going to know what they're doing. They're experts. Nobody knows what they're doing. Everybody's winging it. No matter where, every company I go to, they're figuring it out as they go, and you have to be a problem solver. You have to think on your feet. But if you think you're going to get somewhere where everybody knows exactly what they're doing, that doesn't exist. Everyone, it's like it's peeling an onion. You keep peeling it and it's gone. It disappears. There's no center.
Yeah, but it feels like sometimes you get the best product though whenever you are winging it. It kind of goes back to improv as well. When you're on set, it feels like that's where you get the most authenticity when it comes to a project and working with people that are genuine as well. So thank you very much for sharing that. And, you know, Cristina, I know you've been writing for a few years, right? So what would you want to accomplish moving into the new year, going into 2026 after this film?
So there's one particular, actually two projects that I've written that I really would love to see come to fruition, and for me, they're also at a different budget level, and so for me, I think that for me would be the next step. Like I would really love to be able to see these two projects realized. And so that means I would really love to get a studio and get someone who will take on the project and work with us to develop it and to make it into a reality.
Wow, that's awesome. Patrick, is there anything else you want to add to that? Anything that you would like to accomplish moving into this next year?
Yeah, I also have two different projects that I'm developing, and these are both of them are more a little bit more on the awards kind of film festival kind of vibe rather than just straight ahead comedy. And they're a little more serious filmmaking, I might say. One of them is a smaller budget that I think I could do independently, and the other one is a huge budget, international, budget. Both of them, I'm trying to get them off the ground. God willing, we'll get one or both done, and Christina's. So, we have a lot of hope for the new year.
That's awesome. And that actually brings me to one last question before we wrap up. And I do have a little segment that I'll do at the end as well. But how do you balance the work life and personal life? Since you're both working in the industry, how do you balance that to still, keep a cohesive unit and have balance within the relationship and work?
Schedules and communication. So we really have to, and boundaries, right? Because we have to, we've learned that we've had to set those, because it just gets commingled, and so we have set boundaries, like, okay, we're not going to talk about work, after 6 p.m. or something,
Yeah.
whatever these things are. And then just lots of like schedules, like working together about, with kids' schedules, and we get a lot of help with my mom. So again, it's communication. For me, communication and schedules and boundaries. So
awesome.
Yeah, it's definitely been a challenge. We've been married now for 18 years, and we've made 6 movies together.
Mm-hmm.
6 movies together. And not all the movies were made together. Like she's done work independently and I've done work independently. We definitely, the rule is no talking about work in the bedroom. we can't even discuss it, because it did come a point where it just never ended. We were always talking about work, and that became an issue. So that's some of the boundaries Christina's talking about. But we have a great mutual respect for each other. And we're also working on more projects independently from each other. So she's working on stuff, I'm working on stuff. If something should happen where we end up, we're currently finishing up a documentary that we're co-directing and co-producing. So in that one, we're working closer than ever, But at the same time, she's writing projects with other people. I'm developing projects with other people. So, we're keeping it. We're trying to. To me, the most important thing is our relationship.
Mm-hmm.
We have three kids. We have a beautiful life, and we need to protect that at all costs. Films come, films go, and we love it, but it's not as important as the relationship.
That was great. That's probably the biggest takeaway from the whole interview. So I just want to say thank you both for your time and, being so generous with your advice and just being so honest with the conversation today. I have one last question for both of you. I love to do this on all my interviews. It's a great way to always end. Name 3 things that you are grateful for right now.
I'm grateful for this lady right here, Cristina. Come on, I'm grateful for my kids and that I have this amazing career. that was really a dream of mine my entire life. And the fact that we made a go of it and we're able to make a life doing it is just, a blessing.
I would have to say grateful for my family for sure. Same thing. And also just grateful to be able to do this every single day. That is definitely, like Patrick is saying, I hate to just be like, yes, what he said, but it's true, to be able to do this every day, I just kind of pinch myself like, really? Like, this doesn't seem like work,
Mhm.
having to create stories and it just doesn't seem like work. And I'm grateful for my mom who helps us every day, like with the juggling, and that we can run off and to San Antonio for 2 months and be able to.
Yeah, without her mom, a lot of this couldn't have happened because she just helps with the kids and helps us with our day-to-day life, so we could run off and make movies.
And so it goes back to your community. Build your community. Always your village.
Be nice to your mother-in-law.
That's the biggest one. Hey, well, thank you again for your time. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for tuning in to another episode of Alamo Vaudeville on Air. My name is Ashton Holloway, and we will see you guys next time.
Say this prayer to San Antonio. Believe it when you say it, and wonderful things will happen.
What the heck? Yes!
Swore I never love again, so I do.
Nothing beats a picnic by the river. Just found me enchanting.
You are quite the tour guide. When we kiss, why would
Ruby, you still haven't told us what your mystery man's name is yet.
You are freaking unbelievable. Stay out of my life, stay out of our life.
How could anyone ever know you?
When you see a painting and you have that connection with the artist, it's magic. Told you it was magic.
He's a vegan.
So no carnitas, no ribs.
Never.
In Texas, that's weird.
Patrick and Cristina, thank you so much for your time today. Before we go, where can we find Say a Little Prayer?
I'm glad you asked, Ashton. It's streaming right now, so please check out Say a Little Prayer on Amazon Prime Video, Tubi.
Hoopla, Tubi, Roku, and Vizio.
Yeah, and it's available on demand for rent almost anywhere you could rent your movies, from Comcast through DirecTV to Apple TV, everywhere. So look for Say a Little Prayer. And while you're at it, check out all our other films that are available under my name or Christina's name.
Mostly on Tubi.
We'll definitely be checking it out. Thanks again for your time, and I hope both of you have a wonderful night.